So I've started the stream on YouTube. Hopefully everything works well. I believe we can already kind of do the initial hellos. So yeah, I think I would start with a little bit introduction of myself today. So hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I'm the new community manager. This is my first community call at Checkmk, so please be patient if something goes not as planned. Anyways, it's really nice to see you today. And today we have Robin, who will talk about the Ansible collection and will be able to answer questions. And I think this is going to be great, very interesting. I would suggest to wait one more minute just to be sure that everyone who wanted to join has the chance to join. So
that makes sense. I mean, especially in the IT industry, most people are on a quite tight schedule. So probably a few people will be dropping in a few minutes late. So yeah, let's give them the time. Maybe I should already start screen sharing, or at least prepare so we can dive into it right away.
Sure, you should have all the possible and impossible permissions to do that. So.
There we are, just the starting page.
Short question. The session will be recorded, right?
Yes, we are live streaming on YouTube right now, and the live stream recording will then stay on YouTube just as this meeting ends. Sure, welcome.
Okay, well, I think people are still joining all over the place, but I think it makes sense to start. If you agree, Sarah, then I would just go
definitely do. Hello, everyone who just joined. And this is our August community meeting today. We'll be talking about Ansible collections. I'm Sarah, new community manager. If we haven't met yet, or if we haven't said hi to each other yet, hi. Anyhow, now I will pass the mic to Robin, who will tell us about the Ansible collections and show us a little demo today.
Right, thanks a lot. Okay, so we are looking at the Ansible galaxy of our Checkmk Ansible collection. Maybe just a brief introduction for those who are not that familiar with the whole Ansible ecosystem. A Ansible collection was introduced not so long ago, I would say. And the idea behind Ansible collections is that you can group content into a package of some sort and ship it to other people to use it. It's more or less like a package manager if you're thinking about Python with pip, or even on your operating system with apt or yum or dnf. It simply enables you to install additional functionality, to put it quite simply. What's included in this kind of collections is typically modules that allow you to interact with certain services, for example, with vSphere or public cloud providers, whatever API you could call. Those are the modules that you can easily use in your Ansible collection, in your Ansible configuration, where you just put in easy YAML code, and that YAML will be translated by the Python code to API calls, for example. And also you have roles, or you can have roles inside your collections, inside the collections, which you then can simply use from the collection without having to copying them from one place to another, or without needing to rewrite stuff yourself. Right, so much for a quick start with Ansible collections. If you're not familiar with them, it's quite well documented. There are quite active IRC channels if you want to get in touch with developers and people taking care of the ecosystem. So it's quite easy to get started. Now, moving over to our own Ansible collection and what it can do and what it does. A little disclaimer in the beginning, or maybe a big disclaimer, just to clarify, although we write it in all the READMEs. This is a fully open source project that we are doing here. It's done in spare time that we can spare. And there is absolutely no commercial support to this. So if you have problems with the collection, you're welcome to head over to GitHub. We'll see that in a few moments. Open issues, ask for help, but just be patient. If it takes some time, we cannot promise anything there. Just to clarify that from the very beginning. But of course, we do our very best to keep the collection stable and to fix problems once they occur. Right, so towards the content. What do we have in the collection? At the point of this call, there's a few modules and a few roles. We have some more or less basic roles, but they can do quite some stuff. There's an agent role that takes care of managing your agents. And there is a server role that takes care of managing your servers and to a certain degree, managing sites. Then we have modules that manage folders within Checkmk, hosts within Checkmk. Of course, we can do discoveries on that host and we can activate changes, obviously. And additionally, from the monitoring aspect, because the four before were setup items where you configure Checkmk, with the downtime module, it's always also possible to schedule downtime on your hosts. So if you're running some sort of automation through Ansible, you can simply schedule a downtime with that module and could go on doing the maintenance that you intend to do. Right, so that's what's currently included in the collection. Of course, we try to extend it as quickly as possible because obviously there's a lot of areas within Checkmk that you can automate through the REST API that is used in the backend. But yeah, we go along as we can. And as this is a open source endeavor, obviously there are already contributors. And maybe we can take a quick look at the GitHub page here. So this is the GitHub page. The name is a little long, but in the end, that's how you name this kind of repositories. This is where all the content lives. This is where we do the versioning, if you're interested, or this is the versions that you can see on the main page. And you can see the contributors. And I just want to give a quick shout out to the people that contributed to the collection at this point. There's two guys from the tribe, that's me and Lars. He's putting a lot of effort into developing the plugin, the Python modules. But we also have several community members that you can see that contributed content. And I want to highlight one person, maybe she's around somewhere here because I told her about this call. That's this nice person here. She contributed several improvements to the roles. Currently, we are working on a pull request for the for rule sets to be able to manage rule sets through the Ansible collection. And I'm forgetting something here, but she's been quite busy. Just a quick shout out here. Thanks a lot for contributing. And yeah, we're looking forward to contribute in the future. Right, now I've talked a lot. I've shown you a little about the collection and what it can do. And we promised a demo. So let's go ahead and do that because obviously you guys are interested in technical details. Let me switch to the right window. There we are. I'm just going to start running the playbook that I prepared, and then I will explain what it does in the background. And good thing I cannot see what I'm typing. There we should be. All right. So I'm starting with the roles. I first run the server role against a server, a vagrant box that I have running on my local PC here. It first installs some prerequisites, then it downloads the Checkmk server setup. All of that is configurable, obviously. At this point, we are using the most recent patch release of version 2.1. yeah, the only thing limiting this is my internet connection. There we are. Of course, we verify the GPG key, although that is also configurable, obviously. If you don't want to do that, that's quite fine. Then we do the actual installation of the Checkmk server software. That also takes a few moments because dependencies are pulled in, stuff like that. And I'm just going to skip ahead. After the Checkmk server software has been installed, a site will be created. That's what we see right here. Then the site will be started. And that leaves us in the position that we can interact with it, and we will see it later on. The second thing that will happen now after the server has started is that the agent role will run against this very server, because obviously we want to monitor our monitoring server. So that should only take a few seconds. There we are, and we are already running the agent role, which takes care of fetching the agent from the Checkmk server. There's a little logic behind that. So if you have baked agents in one of the enterprise editions, that agent will be pulled. If there is none, the generic agent will be pulled. And for the raw edition, we will pull the raw agent without any modifications. And in the background, we saw these tasks finishing. So what we have now is a running Checkmk server and a Checkmk site. And we have the agent installed on the system. And we actually already added the host to the monitoring through the API and discovered services on it. That's done through our modules. And I activate the changes in the end. So if we switch over to the browser again, and we navigate to that site, we can see there is our site, there is our host. We can take a quick look. This is just the local host. And yeah, you can see it has just been activated. But that's what you can do right here. Okay, so much for the first part. Now let's continue with the second part. The second part only uses our modules, and you can see quite quickly it creates some folders. We create some hosts within that folders, and then we run the discovery. Of course, as most of you will know, the discovery is a quite expensive process, so it takes a little time here. This is not poor performance in general. This is just taking a little time because I'm running in a little VM locally here, so there's limited resources, and that just slows down the process a little. But we will see momentarily what happens in the site after the discovery finishes. Worst case, during my trial runs, one host failed to discover. Of course, also that can happen due to some reason. The good thing about Ansible is you can just run it again. And if everything is already discovered, the process here will return quite quickly. So we're almost through that. And then we will see the changes being activated. So we actually have these hosts in the monitoring configuration. And after that, we will see downtimes being scheduled. And with that, we have seen all the modules that I talked about earlier in action. And there we are. Downtimes are being scheduled. And that's that. So I'm going to switch over because now a break is coming up. And if I update the main dashboard, we can see there's all of our test hosts. They have been discovered. Some of them still have problems, but as said, it's a local test setup. And now we can see in the technical overview, we just quickly increased our Checkmk site by quite a factor. Looking at the setup, you can see there's the folders. You can see some hosts are in the folders. That is obviously completely up to your configuration. Some stayed in the main directory. Of course, we don't want that in production site. It's not nice, but this is just a demo to showcase what can be done here. And if we want to verify that also the downtime planning worked, we can simply go to one of the hosts and take a quick look at the downtimes. And there we say, hey, our Ansible collection said hi. So that's that. That's all the modules that we have, all in action. And if I just finish the task, of course, we can delete hosts from the monitoring configuration. We can remove folders. So this is really the full life cycle of such an object, where you can go ahead and add something, remove something real quick. You can fully automate certain processes here, discover, activate changes. Of course, you can update hosts. So as with everything in Ansible, if we think about adding a host with the same module, you can simply change some of the attributes that it has and update them. So that's the current state. And if we go back, refresh the dashboard, we see the server is still there, but the hosts have been removed. Okay, so much for the tech demo. We have a few more points on our agenda, and then we can go over to questions if something comes up, because I didn't want to discuss every little detail here. I'd rather talk to you guys, answer questions, or just discuss feedback or ideas that you might have. Okay, maybe one more remark, because I almost forgot it. If you have a Galaxy account, we definitely do appreciate reviews over here. Preferably good ones, but even if you think something is of poor quality, first of all, maybe you can improve it yourself. That would be awesome. But on the other hand, if you can't, of course, we want reviews, because that helps us understand what might be wrong here. Okay, so where do we want to go from here? You saw the collection in action, and you saw there's quite some things it can do, but of course it's still limited. There's still modules missing. There's still functionality that can be implemented, a lot of it actually. And that's where we are talking about the vision of the collection, because in the end, the idea is that the collection will reflect all the REST API endpoints that we have, or at least, let's say, in a way that makes sense, so that all the configuration you can do through the REST API can be done through the Ansible collection, which eases the usage of the API for a lot of people, because everyone using Ansible can use the collection and doesn't have to figure out the nitty-bitty of the REST API, or just programming something against a API. So we want to progress this collection to that feature set level. But as we said, it's a open source endeavor, so we're really counting on you guys to chime in here. If you can contribute, no matter how you are able to do it. If you open issues because you found a problem, that's great, because then we become aware of them. If you can contribute some piece of code, or even just a little improvement, just a small thing to one aspect of the collection, open a pull request. We work through them, help you make sure that they work with the collection. Of course, we have automated testing, so that also tells you if everything is already working or not. Everything that you need to know about the collection is in the README down below or in linked files. So you can see we put quite some information in here if you just go through it. And there's additional files that tell you how you can contribute in detail, information like that. So we're really looking forward to seeing more and more contributions in the future, and to develop the collection to a state where it provides a lot of value to a lot of people, both the open source community, customers, private users, whoever is using Checkmk and likes to use Ansible. This should bring both worlds together and help everybody get stuff done easier, more reliably, in a stable manner. And yeah, that's the idea where we want to go. And of course, additionally to issues and pull requests, one easy way to help us progress this collection is obviously to share the word. Tell your colleagues, tell your friends. If you know they're using Checkmk and they are not yet aware of the collection, do tell them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing contributions coming in to discuss possible features with you, ideas, room for improvement, stuff like that. Yeah, and with that, I think I'm through the content that I prepared. I was quite quick, I think. So I'm really looking forward to you guys having questions, comments, whatever you have in mind.
First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. It was very efficient and it gave a lot of information. And as the moderator here, as a host, I would use my privilege to ask the first question. Do you have good first issues in the issues department? So something that people could start with.
Actually, not really, I think. Let me take a quick look here. Yeah, I think honestly, there's more like quite big issues that we opened as reminders for us, so we know what to work. And yeah, some bugs that need diving into the code. Of course, it depends on the skill level. So yeah, if you are already familiar with Python, some of the issues might be good things to get started. So yeah, if you find something that might be interesting, just try it out. Take a look, and we'll see.
Got it. Thank you. Every issue is a good issue.
Right.
Now, maybe people who joined us on Zoom or people in the live stream have any questions, feedback, something to say, or maybe share some feedback about the Ansible collection in general.
Yeah, hello, this is Michael Frank. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you providing this piece of code. So as we have discontinued deployment systems where we deploy our global installations of Checkmk sites, this looks like it will save us a lot of time in case we go with Ansible. This is currently not the decision is not made, but yeah, if we go with Ansible, this will help us a lot. So this is very good. Yeah, so one thing is that, as you mentioned, we can use only the REST API, which is available. And unfortunately for us, this is currently a showstopper for 2.1 because we cannot create the sites with Ansible. Yeah? So do you have any information about this? Will this be a part of the REST API in the future, or is this not in the discussion here?
You are thinking about the REST API endpoint for distributed monitoring to configure the remote sites within the central site.
Exactly.
I do not have dates on that. We are working on it, but I can't tell you when it will be there. And then, as I said, we need the resources to implement it into the collection. But yeah, the endpoint will be there ultimately. So even if we cannot incorporate it into the collection, one could do it by hand, because with the Ansible URL module, you could also just call the API endpoint. But as I said, it will be there, but I just cannot tell, or I just don't know when that will happen.
Okay, thank you. That's interesting, because I already requested on the feature portal this functionality, and got no feedback so far. So I will talk to Thomas also.
I'm going to take a note, and maybe I can give him a quick hint. Maybe even I missed something. Maybe there's an update. Yeah, but I will take a look.
Okay, thank you. So again, thank you very much for this all.
Absolutely.
There's also a question in the chat. Is the code you used to spin up demo things available to download as an example? Stuff to play with.
I could probably do that. Or maybe I can just quickly give you guys an idea of how it looks like. There we are. So it's quite simple, actually. From running the roles, there's really just including the roles that we have. You do that with the FQCN of Ansible. That's really that. And if we take a quick look at the, for example, activate changes, because the format is more or less the same for all the modules, we have the FQCN, obviously. Then we need the server URL, the site, and the authentication information that you know in Ansible, how that works in general. And the actual module call is quite simple, because we have two options here. We can force foreign changes, and we can specify which sites we want to activate. Of course, that's completely based on the configuration options that you have. Yeah, but that would be probably too much of a deep dive to go into all the details right here. But you can see the modules, the module calls are all more or less the same. And of course, all the plugins. We are still working on the documentation, because it's not on the official Ansible documentation where you find documentation for some collections that have been included into the Ansible project itself. We are not there yet, but you can just take a look at the plugins actually, at the code, and in the very top, there is the documentation. So it's not perfectly easy to read, but you can see it denominated here by the documentation string. And if you go through it, there you have all the options with a description, what they do, the type that they are, stuff like that. So you can really quickly understand what the module does. And I think I'm going to share the playbook on GitHub. We will provide the link in the forum. So anyone who wants to rerun this can take a look. And I'm probably going to provide a minimal config YAML, which I'm using here to pull in all the variables that I need. Yeah, but I think there are secrets in there in mine. That's why it's not in the Git history. So I'm going to clean that up, and then I'm going to share the information.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions, feedback, something to ask Robin while we have him? Unique chance.
I guess sometimes people are just shy.
Don't be. We are friendly folks here. Okay, so Robin, is 2.1 is a requirement, or is it supported on 2.02?
Good point. We are doing our very best to ensure proper support of the currently available versions. I cannot guarantee that 2.0 works completely, because in the development we focus on the most up-to-date version, which is what you should do too, of course. You always want to be as up-to-date as possible, but obviously that's not always possible depending on where you run Checkmk. So we work primarily against version 2.1 and ensure that we work against that version. But I'm quite certain that most things should work in 2.02. Most of the time, that just depends on the API. There have been limitations in older versions that might prevent the collection from working. But yeah, worst case, just try it out. If it's easy fixes, we might be able to fix something. In the worst case, that just means you will have to update your Checkmk site at some point.
Thank you. So the person who asked this is still receiving the reply as that's a question from the live stream. So yeah, tricky technology. So again, I'm going to ask again if there are any questions, feedback, something, because if not, so if no one has any more questions, I would have a little bit of like organizational announcement. My big hope is to have those community calls a little bit more often, once in a month or around that. So it's extremely important to get some feedback from all of you people who join those calls. So if I may, I would really ask you to fill in this questionnaire that you can see in the chat and now in the live stream. Oh, there's another question. Are there also plans for a Windows agent role?
I think I've seen that question somewhere. There are no plans, just simply because I don't have a Windows system to test this against, and Windows always gives me headaches. So I kind of beat around the bush there, but there will be no Windows agent role, I think, because it makes sense to incorporate that functionality in the agent role we already have. Because with that agent role, we support more or less all Linux distributions, at least the ones that are in the typical flavors, Debian derivatives and Red Hat derivatives. So in general, it's not that hard to integrate Windows functionality in there, I think, depending on the skill level. But as I don't have the possibility to test right now, this is just not a priority. but I think there will be at least a few people in the call here that should be able to do it if they find the time. So maybe we will see that pull request in the near future.
Let's hope so. Once again, I want to check for questions in the live stream. And nothing of yet. Also, I don't think we have any questions in the chat. So yeah, as you can see, this meeting was a little bit short. Maybe as we have more of these meetings, they might get a little bit shorter, but I believe it will be really interesting to meet each other a little bit more often, to get in touch synchronously in a way. So anyways, let me know what you think. Also in the survey, there is a question that would really help. We are thinking about having an expert on documentation from the knowledge team next time in September. So please give us your amazing questions on documentation, knowledge related topics. So that would be really helpful for us to create an agenda that would be interesting for everybody. So the links to the surveys are in the chat and in the live stream. So right now there are no more questions. So one more time, just to be sure, any feedback, any questions, anything you want to say to the people on the call?
I think it's just not that much used at this point, the functionality, and depending on the people who are in here, probably don't use Ansible that much or that much in depth. So yeah, I think if we do this again in a year or something, there might be a lot more going on. So yeah, it was good presenting. I think at least a few people got some interesting insights, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them on GitHub and in the feedback.
Thank you, Robin, so much for coming today and presenting this. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thanks for thumbs up. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next community call. Also, don't forget to, share your thoughts on the forum, contact me or people in the forum generally, and have a great day today. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.